Welcome to the slideshow presentation for EDRD 631, Literacy Foundations and Instruction for Diverse Populations, Adolescents Through Adulthood by Sunita Graham and Jason Holman, June 2022. The topic of our presentation is comprehension. This topic is one of several that fall under the overarching subject of adolescent literacy. Along with the topics of motivation and engagement, digital literacy, disciplinary literacy, vocabulary, word knowledge, and multilingual learners. In order for adolescent learners to be successful in becoming career and college ready, they must be able to comprehend text in diverse formats and from a variety of content areas. According to William G. Brazo in our course text, and I quote, "Youth who can comprehend complex prose are better students in all the subject areas as compared with their peers who struggle to understand what they read." The two studies that are the focus of this presentation, in these two studies, the topic of comprehension is investigated to determine the best practices educators can utilize to support adolescents as they progress from primary and elementary text to the challenges of more intellectually and academically demanding reading. Our analysis of these studies will consist of a comparison and contrast of how both research teams highlighted the importance of comprehension. As you can see on this slide, the two topics of our studies are improving comprehension online, effects of deep vocabulary instruction with bilingual and monolingual fifth graders, and the efficacy of collaborative strategic reading in middle school science and social studies classes. One study had 240 students, about half being monolingual and half bilingual, and the other had 1,074 middle school students and their teachers. The author's purpose. Listed here are the research questions that the authors investigated. Both authors, as stated earlier, were looking to find out if their interventions would increase comprehension with adolescent learners. One used ICON and one used CSR. ICON stands for Improving Comprehension Online, CSR, Collaborative Strategic Reading. The methodology utilized for the ICON study, the authors used a quasi-experimental approach. And in the CSR study, they used a multi-cluster randomized trial with an experimental group and a control group. Both studies utilized the assessments of Gates-McGinty reading test. And in the quasi-experimental study, the authors came up with their own assessments for vocabulary breadth and depth test. And in the CSR, they used a state-mandated test for reading and writing. Key concepts that I found in these articles were that the first article in using the ICON test had the children go on their computers and read text that used 5 target words for 8 different texts. And they could turn on the computer and get Spanish translations if they needed them for the Spanish English speaking learners. In the CSR study, the students utilized the explicit instruction, scaffolding, and peer-mediated learning, where they used the different approaches of preview, clunk, clink, click, and clunk, get the gist, and wrap up, which were parts of that process.
Okay, the conclusions and findings. So in the article that used the ICON program, the students who participated in this online program performed better in vocabulary. And then in the article that used the CSR, overall, students who participated in the class with the whole CRS method approach performed better in comprehension on the GMRT exam than students who had partial to know CRS methods in class. The implications for research practice. In the ICON article, one implication relates to fidelity, which is whether each student read required 8 texts for the online ICON program. In other words, did every student read 8 texts? In the CSR study, one implication is that students' attendance shifted due to class schedules and moving away. Professional reflections and questions. One question that on the study that used the ICON article is, how can researchers keep track of the number of books students read? Since this could change the data completely. And then looking at the article that used the CSR, in middle school, students are changing unlike elementary school. So how can researchers work around this so it doesn't impact students' data? Tying it all together. Overall, these two articles complemented each other well. One focused on vocabulary, while the other on comprehension. These are two vital skills in literacy. As we move forward in this course and program, we will continue to think and reflect on the studies from this project as they raise important questions in the field of adolescent literacy.
Okay, let's see.